Good evening. This council meeting of August 16th, 2022 is called to order. I'm going to Terrace with the pledge of allegiance, please. Please rise.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Donna, will you do a roll call, please?
Yes, I will. Councilmember Bode,
Here.
Councilmember Sherman.
Here.
Councilmember Gutierrez.
Here.
Marinesco.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schmidt is absent this evening. Councilmember McDowell
Present.
and Councilmember Peterson.
Here.
Deputy Mayor asked to be excused today. May I have a motion?
I move that we excuse Deputy Mayor Schmidt from tonight's meeting.
Second.
Right, there's a motion and a second to excuse Deputy Mayor Schmidt. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, does council have any late changes to the agenda? Or staff? No, all right. Are there any board reports to share tonight? Sure,
I don't have a board report, but I have a comment to make,
sure.
I think, along the same line. Today was Chalk the Walk. I don't know if anyone got out and looked at some of the artwork, but I walked around the corner and there was our judge and two of his office ladies on their hands and knees doing an art project on the sidewalk. And I thought that was so cool. So thank you very much for participating in that.
Thank you. Any other reports? I wanted to thank Mark Ziegler and Jordan with our Parks Department and our entire Parks Department for our successful movie night at the park. It's been very well attended and people are really happy and thanking us for that. So thank you guys for all that hard work and research you did to put that thing together. All right. All right. Has everyone read the consent agenda? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as published?
I move to accept the consent agenda as written.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as published. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion carries. All right, we have two presentations this evening. Liz Arball, Director of Mason County Historical Society Museum, has a second quarter LTAC report to share. Lodging Tax Advisory Committee.
Hello. So I have some slides. So this is second quarter. Next, please. There we go. So attendance. We are getting back to normal, which is great to see. We've had about 800 and where is the total on there? Anyway, 869 or something like that, including people from Oregon, California, Colorado, New York, Georgia, Texas. We are getting international visitors again, which is great. Scotland, Belgium, Netherlands, Canada. So if you look at the next slide, that will show you what last year looked like in comparison. It's nice to be seeing more people again. Yeah, so there's a big difference. And actually what I find interesting is that the people from over 50 miles have stayed relatively stable, but it's the local people that are coming in again. So it's wonderful to see. Next, please. So we had our first event for over 2 years. We hosted the Mason County League of Women Voters reception. They put together these posters that were supposed to be honoring the women getting the vote a couple years ago. So it was the women leaders of Mason County. We had over 100 people in the museum for this thing. It was really crowded, but it was great to see how happy the families were that their families were honored, their grandmothers and so forth. On the left there, we have the family of Ann Miller Pavel, who was a member of the Skokomish tribe. And on the right is business owner Maggie Velasco Lucero. Also honored were Zindweli, Clara Eastman, who owned Alderbrook Resort, the educator Mary M. Knight, and the artist Ethel Dolby. So next, please. In May, we had poetry and stories from Gary Strangman. He is an Irene S. Reed graduate, class of 1959. He's also a retired Ninth Circuit Court judge from California and a UC Berkeley law professor. So pretty impressive, but he is also the moderator of the Facebook page. You might be from Shelton if, and so he writes little stories and poetry, and that's what he presented. He was there 2 nights. We limited attendance. Tickets were free, but it was 35 people per evening, just so we didn't have another 100 people packed in. And it was kind of great too, because we had people flying in from Florida and California for this event. It turned into a class reunion for the group. So that was great. Next, please. Thank you. This is the photo of W.S. Heckman. It's the construction of the Vance Creek Bridge in 1929. This is one of the ones that is being scanned. So we're trying to preserve all of his negatives. And once they're scanned, next please, we will be adding them to an online database on the platform called Omeka. We currently, when I made this slide, we had about 250 photos. We probably have over 600 now. And we don't have them available to the public yet. We're still hoping to get the staff time to add all the tags and things like that so that the photos are accessible. Next, please. Our current exhibit is a photography exhibit by Shelton native John Tilzak. It's black and white photography. There's current photographs of the historic sites of logging camps and train wrecks and things like that. And then he ties them to the stories. It's really interesting. He will be doing a talk, and we'll have a reception for him on September 15th. And it's open to the public. We hope to see some of you there. And that's at the museum. And this is our diorama of Camp Grisdale, which was the last logging camp on the continental US, closed in 1986. And it has, kids find it fascinating, but then it also has all these little animals and stuff along the edges. And so they really like that. But mostly I just want to say thank you to the city. We would not be where we are without you guys. So thanks so much. And are there any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Right. Now we have a Jamie Ellerston from Mason County Public Health with information about an overdose awareness walk.
And I have some followers.
All right.
So my name is Jamie Ellertson, like Eric said. And I'm going to talk about our overdose awareness walk of Mason County. So for those of you that don't know, this is going to be our 6th year that we did this. And I have to say, it's probably my favorite day of the entire year. So I got this wild idea 6 years ago, actually around this exact time 6 years ago, about trying to do something for overdose awareness. So my brother died 10 years ago from an overdose. And I just kind of remember seeing my mom be so depressed, like nobody cared. She felt really alone. Even for his funeral, she kept on just begging people to come. And so I was sitting there and I was thinking about it. Why not start something for my birthday? My birthday was August 30th. And so I Googled overdose awareness. And I was pretty surprised that the day after my birthday was International Overdose Awareness Day. So I contacted Abe Gardner, who used to work for Mason County Public Health. And I asked him if he'd be willing to put together something. Crazy idea, post something on Facebook. So we all met up at the old Red Apple, now Shelton Outfitters, with an old pair of shoes tied together for somebody that we'd lost. And I was shocked when I drove up and there was about 30 people standing there. something I only planned like a week ahead of time. So now coming into our 6th year, we usually have around 150 to 200 people attending. This year is the first year I've ever been paid to do this through public health, now that I work there. So we're anticipating at least 300 people going to be attending. We now have 2 events. We have one in Shelton, which is at Neelan Park on August 31st. And our second event is in Belfair on September 1st. And we've expanded it. So now it's not just a walk and speeches. We also have a resource fair. This is going to be the first year I have convinced every treatment center in Mason County to attend, including Squaxin and Squamish. We have other treatment centers from around the state that are going to be attending, and not just treatment centers, but local resources. Because if somebody's struggling, it's not just about going to treatment, it's about housing, it's about counseling and just seeing everybody stand together. So this is an open event for our entire community. I really encourage everybody to come. I tend to cry the whole time, and you probably will too, hearing some of the stories. We've had my niece speak before about impacts of overdose on her. Last year we had Fiola from SPD speak. That one really made me cry. So if anybody was there, you probably cried too. And I just think this year is going to be really great. So I got all the flyers for it so everybody could take one, encourage it, send it to other people. Even if this isn't your thing, I still encourage you to come. Any questions?
Thank you, Jamie. Any questions for Jamie? Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Jamie. You can hear it now.
All right. At this time, members of the public are invited to make public comment on any topic that's not listed on the agenda. Donna, do you have anybody interested in making public comment tonight?
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor. First is Dean Jewett.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be here. Lifetime Mason County member, multi-generational. I'm just going to throw the elephant in the room right out there and go for it. I do want to thank Jeff and you guys for forming this homeless committee. Sometimes it gets a little bit feisty in there, but Jeff's been a pretty good moderator, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to do it. I have a topic I want to touch base on. In this position we had several years ago, and it's this homeless outreach person or position that I heard with the last meeting. I've seen some nods of approval. I look at a lot of nonverbal communication because there's a lot of that goes on. And I already have a sense that that's a direction that we might be going. I want to make sure and clear what those job responsibilities are going to be, and make sure that you guys are aware of that as well, that this has to serve the entire community, as Jeff likes to say, which I agree with. So it's not just a small portion of the homeless or the street people. This also has to serve your constituents and the business people. So I want to make sure that they take that into consideration when we talk about this position. I wanted just to bring back and circle back. It sounds like Jen, on our safety zones. Okay. So the downtown zone and an uptown zone. So zone 1, zone 2, and those would be enforcement zones like my wife talked about, and we'll provide you with some of those links. And I've asked Jeff to supply some of those to our committee meeting as well, so we can take a look at how those work and how those are implemented and how they were passed, and are they successful or not? Maybe they're not. If they're not, then we don't need to do it. Okay. Ordinances. Who thinks up the ordinances? Who brainstorms it? How do you guys get approached with these ordinances? I'm sure that there's probably some of them with code violations and old codes and old laws that are outdated. So how do those come about? I would like to get informed on that. And no, maybe there's a study session that you guys could do. Maybe that could be in the open forum that we're scheduling in October with the community. It seems to me that we do a lot of talking, and I understand it takes a while to get things happening. But if we would have been having some of these conversations 3 years ago, we would not be where we are right now. So, and I'll steal that from Miguel because he talks about that as well. Okay. Study sessions. Where do those topics come from? Are those predisposed? Are those given to you? Do you come up with those? Are they prioritized? You know, if there's an epidemic or an issue happening with what we have going on downtown, does that make it and become a priority? So, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Dean.
Next, we have Jackie Jewett.
Good evening, Jackie Jewett, resident. So I want to piggyback on what my husband said, but I have some questions about the community forum. And so there was several meetings ago that it came up that we are going to have a community forum in October. So I just have a few questions about that. And I know that you cannot provide me answers right now, but I would really appreciate an email that addresses some of these concerns that I have. So first, I do want to start out by saying that one of the things is kind of the same thing that Dean said is like, so for the community forum, how is the agenda formed? So is this formed from the council, or is this have something to do with what the community thinks and how they feel about our community? Does the community, it is a community forum. So does the community have the opportunity to express some things that could be talked at the community forum? So with that, it's like, so when does this information go out? So does the information go out to the community well enough in advance for the community members to prepare and to be ready for these meetings and know exactly what is going to happen in these meetings? So for instance, you know what? I always bring school into it because it's a true story, right? So when we have a big event coming up or something that's very concerning, you know, we email the community, our parents, we send out newsletters, we make phone calls, we give them the adequate information of phone numbers that they can reach out to if they have any questions, if they need help, and all these different things. So where do our community forums, how are those exposed to the public, I guess? Is it through Facebook? Is it through ads in the newspaper to inform our community? So those are some questions that I have, and I would really like to know the processes of those. And I just, as a community member, not even as a business member, but as a person who lives here and sees what's going on, I would like to be more involved. And I know there's more people in our community that want to be more involved if they only knew how to become involved. So people don't know what we don't know. And I tell my students that all the time. How am I supposed to know you don't know how to add 2 + 2 unless you tell me or show me? You know, so I'm not supposed to guess, just like you're not supposed to guess. You're here to serve the community, right? So it just makes perfect sense to me that we get the community involved in some of these things that are happening in our community. And so I would just really appreciate an email of those processes. How do we inform the public? What is the timeline? When does this information go out? And what can we do as community members to make this better so we can all work together? Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Next is Athena Ayers.
Evening. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me again, as always. I just wanted to come today, again, just to show my support and also to share with you some of the things that Community Lifeline and our community partners have been up to contribute to our houseless population downtown, as well as provide services for people who might be needing substance use treatment or mental health care. I can tell you that in the last 2 weeks alone, that Community Lifeline has provided about 1,200 meals to members of the community. I can tell you that in just 2 weeks, we've been able to get 3 people into treatment and 2 people into alternate housing. I know those numbers aren't like, you know, astronomical, but in a 2-week period of time and with limited resources, they do matter. And certainly for the people that we're helping, it certainly matters. We've also had a wonderful relationship with our law enforcement and our public health department, our hospital, our treatment centers, Northwest Resources. There's so many community partners, not just in Shelton, but in our county that work together. And I've actually been asked to present to you the idea of having someone participate in our monthly stakeholder meetings. That's when all of the service providers in Mason County come together and we talk about what we're doing and we talk about what we're working on and where there might be gaps in services. And I think that that would be
crucial information for the city to know when they make decisions. So we would be happy to send you that information if you're interested. I know you guys are tied up with a lot of meetings as it is, but if you're interested, that offer is definitely on the table. And I just want to recognize that it is, again, a complicated issue, and it's easy for people to believe that things aren't happening as quickly as they need to. But when a situation has so many different components to it and so many legal constraints to what we can and cannot do, we really have to walk a tight line of what moves we're allowed to make and what we have to really be careful about. And so I think, again, we're doing the best that we can. I think there's obviously definitely room for improvement. And I think that everyone in here is aware of that, and we're working towards a solution to that. And even though it doesn't happen as quickly as we'd like it to, I think that some amazing things are going to happen. And just as a public service announcement, if you guys are interested in becoming involved, or if there's anyone interested in volunteering, Community Lifeline could always use volunteers. We can always use people to get involved and give back to their community. And if you are interested, then I can provide my contact information for that. So I just appreciate each and every one of you, and I appreciate being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasmina.
Next is Curtis Fosdick.
All right, thank you. My name's Curtis Fosdick, live at 220 East Ashwood Lane. I would also like and appreciate an emailed response to my question. My question is to the whole city council and the manager. Which one of you are willing to give up your private property and allow encampments on your private property? Any one of you going to do that, please make that known, because if you're allowing to, or if you're able to push this into our community, you should be willing to put it on your property as well. So please feel free to respond. Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis.
Our last in-person is Rebecca Bechtel.
Hi there, Rebecca Bechtel, lifelong resident of Mason County. I live outside of the city, but still Mason County. I'm here every day. I'm really stumped. I keep hearing that the main problem with our homeless issue is that the city council's hands are tied. And I understand that it's tied where we can't do much about the issue there right now. But with that, I'm having a really hard time understanding why we want to vote in more services and then these 30-person encampments, when I've talked to several of the people out there, a few, not several, but a few, and they're here not from Mason County. They come here, they get dropped off here from Thurston County because we have good services. So we're already giving the services that they come here for. And if our hands are tied on what we can do when they're walking down the middle of our street with crazy, drug addiction things happening and smoking drugs on the sidewalk, where I had to walk through it one day because I didn't know she was there and walked right into her meth cloud or crack cloud, whatever it was. I'm not happy about that. I don't do drugs. I'm really mad about that. But why are we voting for more services and these camps, which are things that attract these people from out of town, and when our hands are tied and we already can't stop what's happening like currently? Why do we want to bring more? Because those are the things that are attracting the people to come here from Olympia, because we already have better services. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what the answer is there. There's places helping, like she said, plenty of treatment centers. Obviously, we need treatment centers because the people they're out there addicted to drugs, but having more services when they're here for the services, I don't think we need to add more, because that's why they're already coming here. And a lot more than there was 5 years ago, a lot more. We all see it. We can try and look the other way, but it's there. It's happening every day. Crazy things in our parks. We can't take our kids to the parks really very often because there's wild things happening there that we don't want kids to see. That's all I got today. Yeah, if anybody wanted to email me some answers to why we would vote in more of these things that are attracting the people we don't want here, my email is tbmc.rebeccabechtold@gmail.com. And I would love answers to those questions, but that's, I know the answers are hard to come by. Thanks for hearing me.
Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah.
What is your name, sir?
Stearns.
Tommy
Did you-
Stearns?
Did you sign up, Mr. Stearns?
I did.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna have the people that signed up first on Zoom, and then anybody else that would like to speak will have an opportunity.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, we have Colleen Carmichael via Zoom.
Good evening. I'm Colleen Carmichael, and I'm the Executive Director for Quixote Communities. There is answers actually to why the number of homeless people have increased in Shelton, and it's directly tied to the lack of housing, low income wages, and poverty. And those of us who are providing services in Shelton do know that if you provide services, it actually reduces the number of homeless people that you have. People don't like to hear that. I know they often are fearful of what is happening in the community. And I'm here to tell you, and so is Athena and other providers in town, that when we give them the services and housing that they need, it actually reduces homelessness. And it's statistically shown to do that. So other cities do not ship and bus people to other towns. I know people like to think that that's the case, but everybody is struggling with this issue. It's not just us. So it wouldn't make any sense to say that one city has better services than another. We're all lacking the funding and the staffing, but as Athena said, we are trying our best to make sure we can do what we can to get people off the streets. The way you do that is through a group of programs, including rapid rehousing, which is helping to pay for people's rent for a short period of time so they can stabilize. Permanent supportive housing for people that are chronically homeless, have both mental and drug addictions. And that's case management in housing that stays there for the rest of their lives. We also can do transitional housing, which is short-term to stabilize a family or someone on the streets and get them back on track for housing. So there are solutions to these. There are many ways we can go about serving them. We do have many partners working together right now to make this less. And we do really appreciate the city and what they're trying to do to make this better. So if you want to know more about why we're doing what we're doing and how we do it, please go to any one of the providers, and we're happy to talk to you about what we're doing and how you can help support us. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. All right. Anybody else in line?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, can you ask if there's anyone else, and I'll record their name and then call them
We'll
up?
go ahead with Thomas.
Sir.
And then do you live in the city or the county or elsewhere?
Here in Civic.
Thank you.
Turner, 1413 May.
Yeah.
Come visit me.
Thanks.
Okay, my problem with you, besides Jim Bode, man of the people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of you cowards voted for homeless encampments in this county. In what form? Compassion? Is that what it was? Was it a kickback to the city? Who knows? We'll dig, we'll find out. But compassion? Wrong. It's enabling, and enabling is not helping these people. We do not have a homeless problem in Mason County. We have a transient problem. And the more you vote these pathetic enabling actions, the more we're going to get more transients into this community, the more it's going to affect our children, our businesses, our way of life. We're a small community. We are tight knit, and we refuse to accept your coward garbage. We're going to primary every single one of you when you're up for election. Be ready. We're coming for you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Thomas. All right, anybody else in the audience?
None of that,
Excuse me,
please.
no clapping. Anybody else in the audience like to speak? Sure, Jamie. And since you're there, are you in the Shelton?
Jamie Ellerton, I live in Mason County. So for those of you that don't know, I do work for Mason County Public Health. And I am the program manager or program coordinator for our navigation program that's based at Shelton Police Department and out of the sheriff's office. Prior to me getting this job, I definitely would have had the same outlook as everybody that is talking. I understand some of our houseless populations, which it is about less than 5 individuals, are troublesome. There are people out there doing things that, you know, make me feel a little uneasy sometimes. But you know, the one thing I always go back to, and I challenge everybody, now that I'm in this position and experiencing some of these things from a different perspective, I challenge you guys to come with me for a couple hours. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of these people who I'm working with, they're not just homeless. They're people that have been fleeing from, you know, sexual assault. They're fleeing from a lot of different things. And a lot of these people are Mason County residents. And I always say, would you guys, if there was a child standing in front of you right now saying that they were sexually assaulted, they were abused, they were starved, they ate out of a garbage can, they did all those things. If one of my children were standing up there saying that right now, would there be the same outlook? Probably not. But a lot of these children grow up into adults that have those same behaviors and those same things. And I'm not justifying it. Believe me, I am the first. If I see somebody out there using drugs, I'm like, what are you doing? Get it together. I'm the one that's out there with a garbage bag telling these people, clean it up. You're making us look bad. But I challenge each and every one of you, really, if you want to come out, come and see it. Come and see how it's different. I walk around and I ask these people my 2 hours in between while I was doing chalk art out here, drawing all my words of affirmation. During that time, I got a girl off to treatment that quick. Because you know what? Sometimes compassion is the act of doing. Okay, I'm not a bleeding heart. I'm not taking these people home with me. I'll tell you that much. I have kids to raise. I don't need no more. But you know what? Sometimes just walking up to somebody and saying, hey, you look really terrible. Do you want to go somewhere? Do you want to go to treatment? Most of them say yes. So I really do. I feel everybody's pain for some of the people that are out there. But you know what? Also step out and get to know the people. Otherwise, you're judging with a blind eye. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Jamie.
They're not from here.
You know their name?
Hold on, we're not, hey, we're not gonna do this. Come on, guys. Mr. Tyler Mad Dog Elliott. Please state whether you live in Shelton or the county.
I live in Shelton and in Mason County. It's a complicated situation, but I get around. Anyways, I'm coming in here today. I actually spent the majority of my day, which was completely unplanned, but helping out a really cool transient punk rock guy with his legal troubles, and spent a bunch of time with the public defender and at the courtroom and walking the walk. And there are a lot of people here that are in serious need of help, and it's our duty to help them. I have a bleeding heart just like some of you. I'm also a hard butt like some of you. And my main concern is the best thing I read in the paper in months was that Community Lifeline was denied its new beds because they needed to reflect on their impact on the community. The problem is they didn't have their number of beds cut. I have a business a block and a half away from Community Lifeline. And it is hell to pay dealing with the overflow that comes from that place directly into my doors every single day. And council doesn't have to deal with it. That's fine. You get to deal with it from afar, but I'm boots on the ground every single day. I can't count how many near violent encounters I've had. I can't count how many times I've dealt with picking up the meth pipes and the needles up and down the front and back side of Railroad Avenue. It's just beyond. There's no accounting for it. And we need to cut the number of services to people that are not from this town. Because as so many other people have pointed out, the majority of these people are not local. And my friend that I was helping out, he's from Tacoma. Why does he come down here? Services. Now, is he on the streets doing drugs? No, he camps out in the woods. He's a great guy. He's a musician. He's been doing it for 20 years. He's not bothering anybody. But a lot of these people are bothering everybody, myself particularly. And I've about had it up to, well, over my hat. And I'd like something to be done. Namely, I would like to see the number of beds at Community Lifeline cut in half. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Tyler. Is there anybody else? Going. Thank you, everybody, for speaking. All right. Our first business item is a resolution to add a contract change to the Aspect Consulting contract. Public Works and Administrative Manager Brooke Kilt has details for it.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and council members. This is the first contract change for the new contract with Aspect Consulting, who's going to be doing the contract change as construction management services to the current contract. They're almost finished with design. We're getting ready to go out to bid for construction, and the unique aspects that Aspect Consulting brings to the table will help assist us with this construction. They'll also carry an additional year past construction to implement the monitoring and maintenance plan. And yes, there's a lot of information in the packet. It adds $238,000, or that's the total contract amount with it. Is there any questions?
That's it. Thank you. Is there any questions for? Well, I just like to say I appreciate all this work getting done. It has been years in the making, and actually we could thank former Commissioner Mike Olson. He was part of the group that got this C Street landfill started. It was ignored for 30 years, I think. It was closed and just nothing ever happened up there. And it's exciting to see this project moving forward and to an end.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? All right.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment, Donna?
No, we don't, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Do we have a motion?
I move to forward resolution number 1242-0822 and contract change number 1 to the current C Street landfill contract with Asthma Consulting, September 6th, 2022, council meeting action agenda.
Second.
All right, and I went out of order. Now are there comments and questions? No. All right. We have a motion and a second to forward resolution number 1242-0822 and contract change number 1 to the current C Street landfill contract with Aspect Consulting to September 6, 2022 council meeting action agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we now have a resolution for an expanded annexation area for Peacock Ridge. Community Development Director Mark Ziegler.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. As a refresher, back in February of this year, staff brought to you the petition to consider annexation for what we commonly refer to as Peacock Ridge properties east of Olympic College. That was for 279.09 acres. Since that time, the petitioners has expanded to 2 more property owners that would add 101.44 acres to the request for petition for a total of 380.53 acres. So we're bringing to you tonight a resolution to move to the action agenda of September 6th for consideration of that annexation. And the next steps would be the petition would come in for the actual properties that the council move forward with this resolution. The county would certify that, excuse me, it's a 60% petition. So the county would certify that 60% of the property owners have signed off on that petition. Then we would have a public hearing, formal public hearing, and consider that annexation in front of the council and adoption of an ordinance that would formally annex these properties as presented. And again, staff is requesting that we place this resolution on the September 6th action agenda.
Thank you, Mark. Donna, any public comment?
No, there isn't,
All
Mr.
right.
Mayor.
Do we have a motion?
I move to place resolution number 1244-0822 on the city council action agenda for September 6, 2022.
Second.
All right. Comments or questions? Right. We have a motion and a second to place resolution number 1244-0822 on the city council action agenda for September 6, 2022. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our next business item is to authorize purchase of the Parkville for Community Development. Director Mark Ziegler has details for
Thank
it.
you, Mayor. We have a parks maintenance truck, pickup truck budgeted in the 2022 budget Authorized. The purchase is over $30,000, so our purchasing policy requires council consideration prior to moving forward. The window is really short because of supply chain issues with State Department of Enterprise Services and their CARS program. We're bringing this to you tonight for approval. $34,000 is budgeted for 2022, and the anticipated cost of this vehicle is $35,280.95. That would be paid for through Shelton Metropolitan Park District funds. And again, we're asking for this to be placed on the action agenda for September 6th.
Thank you, Mark. Donna, any public comment?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, do we have a motion?
Move to forward this to item agenda to September 6th for further consideration.
All right, comments or questions? Budgeted item, have at it. All right, we have a motion and a second to forward this item to action agenda on September 6th for further consideration. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we have one more business item from Mark.
Right, thank you, Mayor. Mixed emotions about this. I wish we could have taken care of this sooner for our patrons and our provider at Timberland Regional Library, but I'm happy that we're bringing this forward to you tonight to replace the fire alarm system at Timberland Regional Library, William G. Reed Library. That fire alarm system had essentially a catastrophic failure in the panel in mid-May, and ever since it's not being monitored for fire service. So library staff are providing around the clock essentially, or anytime the building is occupied, as well as city staff, our custodial staff are there, fire watch. So that means every 15 minutes, somebody walks the entire interior and exterior of the building and documents those measures to ensure that we have a safe environment for the patrons in that facility. Staff called for bids for the replacement of the system. We were originally working with a provider that provides our monitoring service to just change the panel. And essentially, since the panel went down in mid-May, we haven't had a great response. It's really old. It's one thing. And then there's some supply chain issues. Imagine that with these products as well. So we went out with the call for bids, received a favorable bid from Guardian Security Systems in the amount of $33,420. Staff is requesting that we reappropriate funds that were budgeted for 2022 for our access control system, car lock, key lock systems throughout the city in order to take care of this impending issue that we have in front of us at the library. And we're asking council to waive the 3-touch rule and take action tonight, if you would, so we can move this forward and get under contract as soon as we can with Guardian Security Systems.
Thank you, Mark. Donna, any public comment?
No, there isn't, Mr. Mayor.
All right, so the motion to waive would be, do we have a motion to waive second reading and approve as presented?
I move to waive the second reading required by city council policy and allow the this item to move to action this evening. Second.
All right, comments or questions?
I know none of us are happy about reallocating the funds for what obviously is something that needs to be done, but I appreciate the fact that staff has seen this as a priority. We know how much the community utilizes that building, and so it seems only sensible to prioritize that. So thank you guys for finding a way to work that into the budget. I know that wasn't easy, but it's the right decision. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I'd like to apologize to the library patrons because this has been a lingering problem, and we did a grand reopening and didn't have everything set up, and let's make it right. So thank you.
All right. We have a motion and a second to waive second reading and approve as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. For first action item presented by community development. Oh, Mark Ziegler, you are back. I said that was the last one. Do the rotating art gallery.
Let's get them all over with at once, right? Thank you, Mayor, council members. Again, I'm pleased to bring to you tonight recommendations from our Shelton Arts Commission for placement in the Civic Center rotating art gallery. The city called for artists with submittals due by July 29th, 2022. Arts Commission met to jury the work. We received 2 submittals, one from Deborah Singer and one from Heather Rosenborough. One, Deborah works in photography and Heather in acrylic on canvas. They each submitted 5 pieces, and each of those pieces are being recommended for placement in the gallery that would be installed August 30th and up through November 30th, 2022, which we will call for more artists and rotate some new art through there right at the end of the year.
All right. Public comment, Donna?
No, there isn't, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we have a motion.
I move to approve the Shelton Arts Commission's recommendations for placement of the Civic Center rotating art gallery.
Second.
All right, comments or questions? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the Shelton Arts Commission recommendations for placement of the Civic Center rotating art gallery. All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, City Manager Jeff Knight has information regarding a CHIP grant.
Combo breaker. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Tonight, we have in front of you the request to allow me to sign the grant documents for the CHIP grant that we discussed late at the very end of last year. This CHIP grant was for, it's from the Department of Commerce, and will support the Veterans Village, and the city is just acting as a pass-through agency. This is to support water, sewer, and stormwater utility improvements to that site. And again, we're just only acting as a pass-through agency. And that's basically the meat of my report. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
No. Public comment, Donna?
No, sir.
All right, do we have a motion?
I move that we authorize the city manager to execute the grant contract with the Department of Commerce.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, comments or questions?
Just a comment that I'm really pleased to see the city be able to take this role. I think there are so many community partners that are working through these programs, and if there's able to access funding through partnering with the city, that's really wonderful that we're able to provide that service. I know there are other folks that are interested in pursuing those, and hopefully will give us some good options for moving forward and filling in some of these housing gaps.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other comments? We have a motion and a second to authorize the city manager to execute the grant contract with the Department of Commerce. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We are down towards the end. Jeff, would you give us a city manager report, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to echo what you mentioned about the movies in the park. That was incredibly successful. I thought put together fairly quickly, and we're looking forward to more events next year. I can't thank Mark and people in the Parks Department enough for making that a success. Especially when I was out there the first time and the screen started to fall. That's really exciting for everybody.
Yes, the wind makes that thing move a little bit.
Second, I did want to mention we have 2 new employees, one of which is here tonight. Max Franklin will be working with Tim in our IT department as Tim unfortunately heads off into retirement. We're going to miss him a lot, but he'll be here for the next couple of weeks, next month and a half or so. Just working on that transition. So looking forward to that. Now you all have somebody new to take your phones to when there's a password problem. We also have Kenny Obert, who is our new stormwater technician. And he started, I believe, 2 weeks ago, and is fitting into the team really well and going out and making sure all our stormwater phase 2 requirements are taken care of. So it's great to welcome him on board as well. And finally, I sent out an email a little bit, or not finally, I have to do it looking ahead, but I sent out an email a little bit earlier this week about the investment that council made in our local road safety program. That was about a $50,000 investment. And because of that program, the first one we've done in the history of Shelton, we are on track to be awarded $1.145 million for 4 separate safety projects in our city. It's a really good thing. It's a good thing for people in our community and to get to work on those projects and make those a reality. So wanted to thank you for your support on that. Lastly, on the looking ahead, find it, there we go. Next Tuesday, we'll get your first look at the 2023 budget. And at that point, we'll be presenting the base budget, without any new or additional programs. You'll have additional study session opportunities to look at what we're proposing to move forward with into 2023 and to get fully involved in how the public dollars are allocated to meet your strategic priorities. But next Tuesday is the first look at it, so that should be entertaining. Mike's prepared to show for us, Mike and Terry, so we'll all have a good time taking a look at that. Also, at your next council meeting on the 6th, we do have the 3-week break in between this time. We'll hear from the Forest Festival about their success with this year's program and the LTAC report and the 2023 capital improvement program. We put that on as a presentation rather than as a study session because we're working through that as part of the budget as well. And we'll also hear all the items that you heard tonight, with the exception of the approval of the new fire panel, which thank you for that, for approving that this evening, so we can get the library open at peak capacity. Be hearing all those items that you heard tonight on the action agenda. And that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, questions for city manager? Comments? All right, our next council meeting will be Tuesday, September 6th at 6 p.m. We have a study session on Tuesday, August 23rd at 6 p.m. This meeting is adjourned at 6:51 p.m.